The one moment that I thought I knew the film was doing something, the HB for JFK, but it was actually an HJ, then a BJ for JFK, and then we get the JFK POV. SMH.
Subscribe now.
Hello one, hello all. Welcome to this scrambled movie review of Netflix's Blonde. I come to you as always as CP, otherwise known as Charles. Blonde is written for the screen and directed by Andrew Dominic and stars Ana de Armas as Norma Jean / Marilyn Monroe. The reimagining of the life of one of Hollywood's most enduring icons, Marilyn Monroe, from her volatile childhood as Norma Jean through her rise to stardom and romantic entanglements. Blonde blurs the lines of fact and fiction to explore her widening split between her public and private selves. Yeah, all that's a bunch of bullshit.
Marilyn Monroe only exists on the screen.
This is all within like 10 minutes. Her mother is not all there, taking Norma Jean around with promises of seeing her father that wants nothing to do with her in reality, but mom's not all there. Then there's, I would assume, a wildfire. Mom's kind of losing her stuff, and Norma Jean goes around to neighbors and asking for help, to which she gets some. She gets taken to an orphanage, and I'm not lying, I'm not kidding, I'm not exaggerating when I say from there forth, we're just fast forwarded to Norma Jean as the pinup model who's going for a audition with a top studio exec. And if any of you are familiar with the Harvey Weinstein story, she got the job, and from there forth is just kind of the theme of the movie, is just an overall disrespect for Norma Jean, who goes by the stage name of Marilyn Monroe. She doesn't want people to know of her previous nude modeling. And because she had sex with the studio exec, she's now a movie star. Or at least that's what Blonde would like you to think. Just like that. She's got the part because sex. It's still, it's vastly fictionalized, but it's still based on the story of a real life human being, which there are definitely elements that there are things that people have said that they say in this movie about her lack of range and ability as an actor. It's frustrating because they don't focus at all on her ability to just captivate people with her look and her charisma. There's no charisma. There's no charm to Marilyn Monroe / Norma Jean in this film. And she constantly refers to herself as, that's Marilyn Monroe, that's not me. So there's this, different personality that Norma Jean throws on the screen, and that's Marilyn Monroe. The issue here is there's no juxtaposition, there's no other side of the coin. It's just a cynical view at the life and history of Marilyn Monroe. Like her mother, she has mental health issues and experiences events, whether they be anxiety or depression or both. And this movie, more than any other movie I've seen, did a fantastic job of portraying what that feels like. As somebody who deals with anxiety and depression and other mental health issues. This movie, more than any other movie, does a spectacular job of portraying just what everything looks like to you when you're experiencing mania or mental events or anxiety or anything like that. This movie feels like an event, a mental event, but the problem is it's a movie. There's no real structure to it. It feels like it should be some sort of short or like a flashback to a different, just a cutaway scene from a much grander thing. But it's just so heavily focused on how shit on Marilyn Monroe gets and how much she's in her own head and constantly searching for all of her boyfriends and husbands she calls daddy. They set that up nice in the beginning about her not knowing who her father is, but there's this constant need of a father figure or a strong male figure that wants her presence. And that's me doing work for the movie, because she doesn't really fall in love with anybody. There's moments where she is dating two men at the same time, and they're more like buddies than anything. It's sex. It's nudity. It's sex. It's everything that you would love about being with pretty people, and they're all pretty people, just fulfilling sexual wants and needs, and there's no real romance. This movie would have you believe that Marilyn Monroe just stumbled into her many relationships and marriages because reasons. They don't touch on anything that she was so well regarded and loved for. I mean, she's an icon. It's not like the only thing she's known for is sleeping her way to the top, and that's it. And her terrible acting. She was quite funny, and you could look at her now. She's captivating. There's a reason that her look and her style and things that she did in film constantly gets emulated. I mean, Madonna in the 80s, just straight shot for shot, and emulated everything about Marilyn Monroe's presence in a film. It actually kind of strips everything away from her appeal, excuse the pun. The movie could throw you a bone every now and again and give you a reason to have feelings for or feel emotions for this protagonist, our main character, and just show what it is that people are just so enamored with. And it almost seems like out of spite, this movie is just disrespecting her. Every man she's with just treats her like shit or literally beats her. Lots of loose suggestions. I feel very differently about Joe DiMaggio and JFK, to say the very least, after seeing that movie. But again, grandiose, fictionalized version of her story is the best way I can put it. What's funny is there is the parallels, and I mean you could use metaphors. You didn't really need to use metaphors, but these parallels that just missed opportunities where the things that she went through are still prevalent today, especially in Hollywood and in America as we know it. I can't speak on the world's behalf, but the hunger for fame and the great lengths that people will go to for fame. You had such an opportunity there, and they just kind of they just breeze through it. Like, yes, she has sex because she wants the part. And there's no thought process. She doesn't sit with herself about it. It just happens. And when she's making movies, she wants to do different types of films. She wants to act on Broadway, because in films they cut up your work and they don't get the essence of what it is that you're doing as an actor. She really, the one thing that you get about Norma Jean and or Marilyn Monroe's character is that there's a yearning for respect, and it's not there amongst her peers. A lot of ridicule and derision from basically everybody she surrounds herself with. Like I said, there is no other movie that I can think of that captures what a manic episode looks like. This is the best version I think I've ever seen, and so much so it actually made me uncomfortable quite a bit watching this movie, because anybody who's gone through spells like that don't like it, and certainly don't want to be reminded of it, whether it's fictional or not. The cinematography also is probably something I would put in the pro category. Off the top of my head, for instance, the scene of her with the white dress, seeing just how much is actually surrounding her. Again, I'm almost positive that's done for fictional effect, but it's a hell of a shot as far as cinematography is concerned. We know her in that moment from one spot, and in this movie we see it from multiple spots, and we're actually looking down on her, looking down on the audience. The troubling thing is you're looking down at the audience and Marilyn Monroe, and it would be a nice shot to use if you felt like she was being vain. But no, we never get so much as a bit of charisma or even negativity from Norma Jean / Marilyn Monroe. Again, her real name is Norma Jean. She calls her stage self or her film self Marilyn Monroe.
Marilyn Monroe only exists on the screen.
Much like I am Charles. Charles is my Norma Jean, and CP is my Marilyn Monroe. Another credit due to Ana de Armas. No matter what the script says, no matter what there's going on in the story, she absolutely nails. And it just can't be said enough that she's really coming on as far as top tier actors in Hollywood. As an actor, you look to roles where you get to save the day, and Ana de Armas does a spectacular job of doing both, being the sex symbol, the movie star, and the tortured soul. She does both of them fantastically, even though the movie really just focuses on the tortured soul. My negatives, there's no story. Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. Intro, conflict resolution, I couldn't give it to you. I just watched it about an hour ago. Intro is her mom has issues and tells her about her father. Conflict is, well, Marilyn Monroe's life. Resolution, death. That's not good enough for me. No matter how stylish and pretentious this movie is, I need more in the story department. And again, her character is just so paper thin. There's nobody to root for. Marilyn Monroe had a hell of a lot of charisma. If you want to be cynical about how you look at her life, that, yeah, the only reason she was who she was because she slept her way to the top. Whatever. But when she got there, she made something of herself, and she was quite sharp as far as comedy's concerned. Some Like It Hot, she's absolutely funny in that. And it just, they don't take any of that with them. It's such a dark and bleak look at her and the things happening around her. It really gives you this nihilistic view of everything, excessive contempt for her, at just every character, even people that are close to her. There's no real allies in this movie. No matter how this movie paints it out to be, she's just a tortured soul. And even when she meets people that she's in love with and gets married to and is friendly with, there's still this underlying contempt that just never really assures you that people liked her. And that, I'm guaranteeing, is false. And lastly, the NC-17 rating. When I read the quote from the director about, I want to see the NC-17 version of this movie, you didn't need to make the NC-17 version of this movie. A, we didn't need the Fight Club shot, and B, the Caligula shot of JFK's POV. Unnecessary. I guarantee you take those two shots out of this movie and it's an R. Yes, I'm certain that people in the business disrespected Marilyn Monroe in her day. But in my opinion, this film continues the legacy of disrespect towards Norma Jean and Marilyn Monroe. And I'm certain a lot of it's fictionalized, but not artistically so. I give it a 2.5 out of 5 for the brilliant work by Ana de Armas, for the cinematography, and again, the way they capture anxiety, mania. I've never seen it done so well as it is in this movie, but that isn't enough for me to come back and watch this movie. This is not there's no story to it. The characters paper thin. Ana de Armas is beautiful, but I don't need to see her nude that much, and that's saying quite a bit. And that's really kind of, when you say, I want to see the NC-17 version of Marilyn Monroe's life, and you have Ana de Armas, who's showing herself more and more as an actress, it kind of, it's a letdown. It's a giant letdown. So that's it from me. I'm probably going to sit on it a little bit. I've probably ranked it in Letterboxd by the time you're watching this. We'll see where it fits for the year for me, but I wouldn't be surprised if this movie is nowhere near my top 10, top 20 when the year is over. There's so much that it's just so cynical. What about you? Have you seen this movie? Did you enjoy it? Are you a major fan of Marilyn Monroe? Because I know of her icon. I know of her and her work. I certainly enjoy Some Like It Hot quite a bit. That's one of the better comedies of all time. But I wouldn't call myself a diehard Marilyn Monroe fan. I'm curious to hear if any of you are big-time Marilyn Monroe fans and what you thought of this. Maybe I'm just sensitive to the mental health stuff and letting that affect me. So comment down below. Let me know what you thought. Do you plan on seeing it if you haven't? Does the NC-17 scare you? If you have seen it, did you think those scenes were necessary? I'm dying to know if people needed to see that cock. or that angle. If you enjoyed the video, want to see more like it, clicking that thumb helps me quite a bit. Helps you get suggested more content like this. If you want to see other stuff on this channel, clicking subscribe certainly helps me, both of us. If you want to see me again, it certainly helps both of us. And lastly, if you'd like to support the channel and future bigger productions, I do have a Patreon page with a link below. Gentlemen prefer blondes, but I guess Netflix prefers to degrade them.